Here at PPG Paints Arena, the Penguins fall in Game 6 by a final score of 5-3 to the Rangers. Alongside Jeff Hathhorn, I'm Josh Rowntree. The series now tied, going to a 7th game in New York on Sunday. Jeff, this was a game that the Penguins were in control. They had a 2-0 lead going into the second period. Then Evan Rodriguez takes a retaliatory penalty, and the Rangers capitalize off of that. This is what Mike Sullivan had to say about the Rodriguez penalty.
Yeah, you can't. You just simply can't. He's got to keep his emotions in check. That's a necessary part of winning at this time of year.
And he's exactly right with what he's saying there. I mean, Evan Rodriguez, even though you could have called a boarding very easily on Lindgren there, you can't retaliate in the postseason. You saw what that did for momentum. You just can't do plays like that, and he's got to know better.
Yeah, and it continues the trend in this series of kind of wild second periods, and the Penguins come out on the wrong side of this one. They did get a late goal in that second to tie it at 3 by Evgeny Malkin, but Chris Letang talked after the game about these second periods and how they've just kind of gotten out of hand for the Penguins here in the last couple of games.
I think we came with a strong push early on. The second period, you expect the other team to rebound and come at you, and sometimes it puts you on your heels, and you have to manage the flows of the game, and you have to make sure you stay on the same page. Playing on their toes, trying to have a great forecheck. So we know it was not going to be easy.
Yeah, and then the late goal by Chris Kreider, really, Jeff, a bad goal. Louis Domingue, any NHL goalie has to come up with that save, and he doesn't make it. The Penguins end up falling 5-3, and now it's Game 7, and there's a lot of questions going into this Game 7. Sidney Crosby, what's his health? Tristan Jarry, could he potentially be available as well? It's going to be an interesting call for Mike Sullivan if Jarry is healthy and available.
Well, let's start with Domingue. He kind of punches like a soccer goalie.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that a lot. That's just his style. Listen, he's a third-string goalie. I'm not going to put too much on him.
Right.
Was it a good goal? No. Would Tristan Jarry be ready? A lot of us that watch morning skate thought he might be able to play on Friday, but it just wasn't the case. Do you put him in that situation? Hasn't played in a month. Game 7 on the road, considering what he did in the playoffs. Can he wipe that out? Can he pick up where he left off from the regular season? That's an interesting call, but you know what? It really doesn't matter who's in front of the net. They can't have these swings like that.
Yeah.
And what they really need is Sidney Crosby. If only for the boost. Even if he doesn't contribute any points, he's going to be a factor in the game.
Yeah.
You would think for the Pens to win. Yeah, Jarry would be nice, and getting a Boyle back or getting Raquel back, but man, if they don't have Crosby back, it's going to be tough.
What's interesting with Jarry, the guy that was kind of getting killed by fans last year for his playoff performance, is now being looked at as a potential savior for this team in Game 7. Mike Matheson, and I think a big thing here is just your mentality now. You lose 2 in a row, and now you're going on the road for a Game 7. Mike Matheson talked about what it's going to take for the Penguins to go into New York and win a Game 7 on the road. It's a tough thing to do.
I think it's the only option, right? It's either we feel sorry and come into the rink tomorrow and kind of mope around and head off to New York and see what happens in the game, kind of thing. That doesn't sound like a very fun option to me, and I don't think anybody in the dressing room feels that way. So the only option is to just park what happened, regardless of how the games have gone. If we were down 3-1 and came back to make it 3-3 and we're headed off to this Game 7, we'd be expected to feel a certain way, and that wouldn't help us either going into Game 7. So Game 7s are crazy games where anything can happen, and it's up to us to bring our best and see what happens.
So that's the story here from PPG Paints Arena. One interesting thing, Jeff, and we'll see what happens, but this could be the last game that Evgeny Malkin, that Chris Letang play here on this ice. We'll see what happens in the next couple of days, but that's going to be interesting should that happen, and obviously the Penguins have a big task in front of them now to try to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, Malkin played well. Letang was spotty. One of those goals, he's screening Domingue. He's been up and down. He's going to get a big contract offer. You're absolutely right. Hopefully for Penguins fans, they get to see some more action in this building from those 3.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Game 7 coming up Sunday in New York at Madison Square Garden. We'll have more from this game at 937thefan.com.